These specs just don't add up anymore, but why? Let's go. When Samsung introduced the Ultra series to the S lineup, it did so with huge specs and big numbers. 108 megapixel main camera that had a large 1 in 1.33 inch sensor, a crazy 48 megapixel 4x periscope zoom lens. All of that was paired with a 5,000 milliamp hour battery with 45 watt super fast charging 2.0, 12 gigabyte and 16 gigabyte of RAM options, and a massive 6.9 inch 120 hertz Quad HD Plus display. It had the big numbers, but everything else about it was terrible. The software experience, inconsistent. It was bugged by the first generation camera hardware of that 108 megapixel sensor, which caused it to have huge focusing problems and give people an experience that they didn't want to pay for. Post that happening, Samsung stopped innovating their hardware, or seemingly stopped innovating their hardware to that same level. The jump from S10 to S20 Ultra was huge. They chose a path of refinement instead of innovation because they knew that that type of risk doesn't equate to big sales numbers. It's to that point now where the Ultra name kind of seems laughable, especially when you compare it to the original context that name was introduced. Competition also took that name on, Xiaomi being, I think, the biggest example of using the Ultra and matching it with Ultra numbers. They've adopted that Ultra name set and given it the Ultra hardware to go with it. They've basically taken Samsung's original concept and done it better than Samsung at a faster rate as well. But if the recent years have taught us anything, it's that a spec sheet means nothing to the global market anymore. You go and find someone in the street and ask them what chipset is in their phone, they're not even going to be able to tell you. Perfect example of a general smartphone consumer is my wife. She uses a Galaxy S26 Ultra. Not this one, hers is the pink color. Her main reason for wanting to use the Ultra over something like the base model is the fact that it's got the extra telephoto camera. But it's not even the fact that the hardware's there. It's the software that makes it easy to use. Samsung's camera UI is simple. There's no bells and whistles for her to have to navigate. She knows her way around it with the help of me sometimes. But then she also loves features and has been attached to Samsung's wider ecosystem. Features like Samsung Health. Loves using that. Features like Samsung Dex, where she can wirelessly cast Dex to our TV in the living room to show off the football stuff that she's captured. She's also a big user of the S Pen, just to take down a quick note or quickly scribble a drawing out to show me how she wants to renovate something. She still uses nav buttons, has no idea how much RAM her phone has, and doesn't even realize the charging speed that her phone is capable of as she charges it wirelessly overnight. For her, the name Ultra equates to the Ultra experience that she gets. Is the software easy to use? Is the camera practical for her needs? And can she watch her YouTube videos on a nice display? Basic, simple fundamentals that a smartphone can do with a couple of sprinkles of extras that make the experience better. This is where Samsung have shifted their attention and their focus. So whilst on paper, the S26 Ultra no longer offers that Ultra spec sheet that it used to, the overall experience is still Ultra. Let's take a look at why. From the moment you pick up the Galaxy S26 Ultra, it's comfortable to hold. That's because it's lightweight, it's thin, and that gives it an ergonomic feel about it that actually makes it easy to use. The fingerprint placement is logical, and the software is complementary to the phone's design. This is a big phone. 6.9 inches in screen size is a lot of screen real estate, big screen energy. But oneui is optimized to suit and be functional with its design. One-handed use touches are everywhere. Bringing toggles down to an interaction area and then having a viewing area in the top third just means it's comfortable to operate the software. And there's also customization for the home screen to allow you to fit more stuff on it as opposed to needing to be restricted like iOS. The camera experience provides refined processing that matches the hardware. So whilst the hardware is not the latest anymore, this 200 megapixel main camera now is actually a couple of generations old, starting with the Galaxy S23 Ultra. But rather than go and change the sensor to be a 1-inch sensor and have to completely redesign their processing and algorithms behind it, they made the aperture better, f1.4, which allows the processing that's already on there to work more efficiently. Faster shutter speed, letting in more light with the open aperture, better. And then slowly but surely they introduce camera features that gives you a more Ultra experience, but does so in a way that's actually more accessible. All of the feature set that's on here is actually very easy to find. Samsung's settings menu is everything is laid out very neatly. If you want to turn on a more advanced video feature set, you've got the APV codec that you can turn on. And then it's there in the video mode ready for you to turn on, or not if you don't want to use it. And I think what goes unnoticed a lot with Samsung phones is how they are bringing the latest chipsets to market. Samsung, I guess a few years ago, started focusing on a relationship with Qualcomm. And whether that was a financial benefit or a business decision, either way, they're working closely with Qualcomm to bring a powerful chipset to market. The Snapdragon 8 Gen Elite 5 for Galaxy offers extra processing power and gives you more when it comes to the overall experience of things that you normally wouldn't notice. Things like AI features, which Samsung is starting to make a little bit more intuitive from the sense of you don't have to think about using them, they just work in the background. Things like Now Brief, things like Energy Score, live translate features. There's a lot there that Samsung have got from an AI feature set list that is down to how they're innovating on-device processing with chipsets. Now, am I advocating for Samsung being lazy with hardware? No, absolutely not. I still think there is a world where Samsung needs to pick up their game hardware-wise to make sure they stay competitive on the global market. But what I'm also saying here is that the general user isn't focused on that anymore. They aren't sitting there obsessing over how much RAM their phone has or how fast their phone charges. They are looking for convenience and a fluid and ultra user experience that matches their lifestyle. And I think where Samsung have gone really right here with their Ultras in the last 3 or 4 generations is providing a feature set that gives them that ultra experience. The switch to focus on software as opposed to hardware has meant that Samsung can take their existing hardware, make it more comfortable to hold, make it more ergonomic, and then innovate their software around it to make the overall experience better and lighter. I think that's the big one I'm looking for here, is it's a lighter experience. It doesn't feel so heavy or dragged down anymore. Everything has a light, breezy feel about it. So yeah, this is the worst Ultra. Of any Ultra flagship out there, this one's the worst. But only if you define Ultra by specs. If you define Ultra by something else, then this is the best. By country mile, and this is the only Ultra you should consider. Apology if this sounded like a fanboy video. It's just something I thought of that when I tested the Xiaomi 17 Ultra, is that on paper, this Ultra wipes the floor with this. And I've got a comparison about this as well, which again, sort of talks about that fact with the hardware here. But in overall Ultra experience, it falls short. And I've remembered that this thing doesn't. And that's the thing I wanted to reiterate here, is that whilst you're looking at a spec sheet yourself, the global population that buys smartphones doesn't even consider it. And I think Samsung is making an Ultra for them, which may upset you. But in the meantime, things like this exist if this matters to you more. Hit subscribe to Tech with Benefits for breakdowns like this and comparisons and future tutorials that are upcoming. There's a lot around the camera and S Pen and other apps and services that you might be interested in. That's the place you want to be for it. And I'll see you guys in the next one. You.